You're listening to The Edie J. Adler Show, only on LA Talk Radio.
Shalom, amigos. Thank you for tuning in to the Edie J. Adler Show. I am Edie J. Adler. And as I say every week, this show is dedicated to everyone. Every topic is allowed, as long as we don't start name calling or insulting each other. Because if that happens, I will hang up on you or I will block you. That said, I got a level with you. And I'm going to read this because I want to make sure that I get my message across. Today is a tough day for me. It's the dark side of my father, the anniversary of his transition, his trip to heaven. I had planned on dedicating the show to him, but instead, I'm going to do what my beloved Papito, my daddy, would want me to do, and dedicate it to the 6 murdered civilian Jews in Israel. I will read their names in a moment. I am devastated, heartbroken, and very angry. I am sad and disappointed in my fellow Americans, and more than a few of my Jewish brothers and sisters who continue to vote for the party, taking us to the edge of madness. From violence in our streets and schools to enabling terrorists who kidnap, torture, and murder innocent men, women, children, and seniors. Israel must agree to a ceasefire and compromise, they say. Doing that would only mean the total destruction of Israel. At least the Nazis tried to hide their atrocities from the world. But the Islamic terrorists brag about it. They take videos and share them for everyone to see. From the river to the sea, they chant. What is going to take for the world to wake up? Israel and the Jewish people are the only thing standing between the terrorists and the rest of the world. 6 innocent people, along with many others, kept in captivity and torture for almost 1 year, only to be brutally murdered when their rescue seemed imminent. Where is the outrage? Where are the protesters? I am angry, frustrated, and disappointed. But above all, I am deeply sad. I don't have my father's physical presence to comfort me and grieve with me over the murder of those beautiful souls. So today, I humbly dedicate this show to them and their forever injured families and loved ones. Hirsch Goldberg Poling, 23 years old. Eden Yerushalim, 24. Ori Danino, 25. Alex Lovanov, 32. Carmel Gatt, 40. Almog Sadusi, 27. May their memories be a blessing to the entire world, even those who don't mourn them.
Amen.
Thank you for tuning in. Now let's go a little bit lighter, if that's possible. And let me welcome my guest for this week, a handsome young man. His name is Jacob. He and his family, beautiful family.
Well, thank you.
We have known each other for a long time. I'm not going to tell you from where. But Jacob, thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a great honor.
I know that you and your family are committed Jewish people, and like me. And I wanted to ask you, when I was growing up, I didn't know that other people weren't Jewish. I thought everybody was Jewish. And now, well, of course, I grew up in Mexico, but even when we moved here, now it's very different. I wanted to ask you, in school, in our community, how is it like to be Jewish and not hide it from the world
Um, I'd say it's a bit of a mixed bag because at my school there is a large Jewish community, and we support each other. And on the other hand, there are also a lot of anti-Semitic attacks at my school, and even from teachers, from classmates and teachers alike, we've had a lot of incidents. So it's a mixed bag. What can I say?
How do you handle that? How do you stay strong?
I I try to surround myself with Jews and people who support me and my family and my synagogue. And I'm also part of a Zionist youth organization by the name of Club Z, which I want to shout out because they're amazing. They're just absolutely amazing, and they've really helped me through this a lot. And they've helped me especially defend myself against these anti-Semites because there's been a lot of incidents and where I've had to stand my ground.
Thank you, Club C. Thank
Yes,
you.
yes, thank you.
Is there room for other Jewish children or
Oh, there's
Jewish
room.
teenagers?
There's always room.
How do they find it? Is it on the internet?
Yes, clubz.org. Just clubz.org. That is the name of our organization. Our wonderful CZO, Chief Zionist Officer, Masha Mirgulova. She's wonderful. Um, but any Jewish teen can join. We have chapters in LA, the Bay Area, in New York, and in North Carolina. So
Very nice. I'm also sure you get a lot of support from your family.
I do. I get tons of support from my family. I tell my family everything. Um, my mother and father help me a lot, and my grandmother's in the house as well, and my brother. And if there's, I know if there's anything I can, if anything happens, I can always talk to them. So it's very comforting to have such a good Jewish home.
That's nice. I was close to my grandmother too. She
Mm.
taught me a lot. And she had a saying that I never understood until recently. Whenever somebody complained about anything, any complaint, whether it was a huge complaint or a small complaint, somebody lost their job or somebody had a bad day or you broke your nail, she always said, you know what? We lost more during the war.
Yep, that's absolutely true.
Yeah,
Especially with people who escaped communism in Soviet Union, in Cuba, in a lot of places. And you can't really have a bad day when your parents have and grandparents have gone through so much more than you could ever imagine.
yeah.
You can't really have a bad day.
Well, you can still have a bad day, but it kind of puts everything into perspective.
Yes, exactly.
And then it also helps to be surrounded by people who support you and love you and teach you to be grateful.
Yes, of course. That's
Yeah,
gratitude is the key to wisdom and happiness, as a certain person we know says a
that's
lot.
right. That's right. And besides the challenges you face being Jewish in your school, being conservative, what other challenges you have to deal with almost on a daily basis?
It's it's kind of worse than being Jewish because if you're Jewish, they kind of respect you. Some people, they'll go, "Oh, it's a religion. You're a minority. Oh, we respect you, all that." But when it comes to being conservative, I don't usually mention it to people unless I know they are too, because I'm worried about people's reactions to me saying I'm conservative. Uh, there's not a lot of conservatives at my school. I'm good friends with the few that I know, but especially in my classes and I'm in the marching band, and I have a lot of friends in the marching band, and I some of them kind of know, some of them don't really have a clue, and I just try not to mention it to them because I'm kind of worried what they'd think of me, uh, having such a quote unquote radical belief system. Um, so I'd say it's worse than being Jewish
That's
in a
very
way.
sad. That's very
It
sad.
is. It is.
And the things that they are, quote unquote, teaching our children are
Mm.
things that just a few years ago would have been considered stupid. Like
Oh, absolutely.
just a few years ago, saying that a man can get pregnant and have a baby that would have meant that his wife was pregnant and
Oh,
he
yeah.
was just taking part of the experience. But now, if you dare to say that men can't get pregnant, all of a sudden you are anti-science
Oh,
and
anti-science.
Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, fellow Jew, Jesus. Uh, what part of science are they looking at? Are they
Where
looking
you
at the
can say men can.
chromosomes or what?
Who knows? Who knows with these people sometimes? I had a last year or last semester, I was forced to take a health class. Every student needs to take one semester of health because you'd think you need to learn about nutrition, you need to learn about drugs, don't do drugs, um,
Exercise?
exercising, all that. Um, my teacher was a little bit off a rocker with some of the topics. Insanely woke.
Really?
I have photos of the classroom. Giant pride flags everywhere. Posters on where students can get free condoms, which she provides free condoms as well. Um, our school has a Planned Parenthood where you can get a free abortion. Um, there's a lot of other
Do you
posters.
have to notify the parents before
Nope,
the girl does that?
mm-mm. Not as far as I know. No, it's if I remember her saying it correctly, she was advertising it in the school, and she goes, or in our classroom, and she goes, you can get free confidential abortions without your parents knowing.
That's disgusting.
It's horrifying,
What does that
really,
have to do with health?
because abortion is healthcare supposedly. That's what she says.
Well, it's kind of a shame that her mother didn't think that way.
Oh, she talks about her family a lot. Her family, her parents are Catholic. She is an avid atheist. Um, she's she's married to a man, surprisingly, um, and she,
A man who
she
identifies as a man or a woman.
apparently identifies as a man. It's
Wow.
very strange. I was surprised.
Wow.
Um, and she always talks about her parents and how her parents are crazy and like, oh, my Catholic mother. I was raised Catholic. I don't believe in God, but I don't believe in God. I don't believe in God. That's stupid.
Wow. She shouldn't be talking about this in the classroom. I thought
Mm.
that the whole thing was not to bring religion into the classroom.
My friend once. This is actually really. It's completely absurd, but it's a true story and it's kind of funny. She was in her class. She was in a different period, and she sneezes. The teacher sneezes, and she goes, "Bless you." And the teacher goes, "Don't say those kind of words in my class."
What?
She says she says salud because she doesn't like to say bless you because it mentions God, and she doesn't like to say Gesundheit because it's God bless you in German, I believe.
Wow.
That's
And
what she says.
we are the radicals.
Yeah, we're completely crazy.
Wow. You know, I have nothing against gay people.
Oh, me neither. Of course.
Some of my dearest friends are gay,
Hmm.
but I don't see how a pride flag has anything to do with health.
Mm.
To put it in the classroom where they're supposedly teaching you about health.
And another thing, if the argument for a very long time with gay people was we were born this way.
Right.
We can't change the fact that we're gay. Which, okay. So then why are you proud of something you can't necessarily change?
Exactly. Exactly. It's not an accomplishment. It's
Hmm.
just a fact of life. You haven't
Exactly.
accomplished anything.
I'm not proud. For those of you that can't see, I'm ginger. I'm not proud. I don't go every day going ginger pride. I don't. I honestly never really noticed my hair color. I don't really care. I am who I am.
Right.
I
Right.
just don't understand it.
I said that some years ago to Dennis.
Mm.
Dennis Prager, for those of you who don't know. I said
Yes.
that to him many, many years ago when it was just starting. and they were having a Pride Day parade.
Mm.
And I jokingly said to him, I'm going to organize a straight pride parade. And that was fine back then, but if I said that today and somebody heard me, they'd probably report me to the authorities.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'd be chastised as
Mm-hmm.
whatever, anti whatever label you want to pin on me.
Exactly.
What else is going on in your classrooms?
Um, well, as I said before, we've had some anti-Semitic experiences, which are inside and out of classrooms, unfortunately. I've had experiences myself. There was with classmates. I had an argument with a student who goes genuinely. He goes, aren't you super rich? Don't you have all the money? Don't you control the world?" And I'm looking at him completely baffled. And this kid is the definition of like the red pilled kind of guy. He's like uh he thinks he's kind of like he thinks he's conservative, and then he has these like completely radical beliefs sometimes that like even conservatives would say, whoa, that's a little strange. And he genuinely had this argument with me. He goes, don't you control don't you have all the money, don't you own everything? And I had to argue with him, and I'm like, no, I'm not particularly rich, I'm not poor, I'm somewhat a little wealthier than middle class. I'm somewhat well off, but I'm not rich. And then he's like he doesn't believe me. He's like, it's crazy to him. And then he goes, "Oh, so where does your dad work?" That was his question. And I go, "Oh, my dad owns a business." Apparently his immediate thought was like, my father owns a multi-billion-dollar company or something. My father owns a small fabric business. He manufactures fabric and clothing. It's not a multi-million-dollar business. And that's where he ended he goes, "Oh, your father owns a business. Of course you're
Aye,
rich."
yeah, yeah. I like it when people tell me that Jews control Hollywood,
Mm.
and I think I must be doing something wrong because I'm not a famous actress. I wonder if they know I'm Jewish.
It's hilarious. And as well as all of the incredibly famous actors and actresses that are very, very anti-Israel and pro-Palestinian and
Right,
anti-Semitic. And I go, "Oh, really? We control Hollywood?"
right. Yeah,
It's a little funny.
yeah. I lost a very dear person to me
I'm sorry.
about a year ago because he happens to be gay. And one day over dinner, he just looked at me and said, "You know, I love you, but I do not support Israel."
Hmm.
And that was the last time he ever said anything to me.
Really?
Really.
Wow.
He never spoke to me again. And it really broke my heart because I'm thinking, well, how could you say that? You love me, but you support people who want to murder me and everybody else who's Jewish. And not only that, but try walking with your partner in Gaza and see how far you go.
Hmm. Yeah, I saw a very. It's a little dark, but I saw a skit from the Babylon Bee.
Yeah,
If you all know what the Babylon Bee is, they're
it's
doing
hilarious. They're
they're doing some
hilarious.
great work.
Yeah.
And they're doing this like mock interview with a member of Hamas.
Oh, I
And
think I saw that.
this liberal is interviewing him, and he goes, "So, what are your goals for after you free Palestine?" And he goes, "We want it will be simple. Our goal is to kill the Jews." And he goes, "Well, I'm sure, surely that's not your real goal. I'm sure you want Palestinian freedom and you want the safety of your people against the Zionist entity." And then he goes, "No, basically, we want to kill Jews." And he goes, "Anything else?" And he goes, "Oh, yes, we also want to uplift the LGBTQ community." And the interview goes, wow, interesting. That's great." And he goes, "No, no, no, let me finish." And throw them off of a roof.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, they want to throw a roof party for
Hmm.
me. Yeah, it's hilarious.
It's,
It's
it's
hilarious.
the things you support without knowing what these people would do to you.
Yeah, to
It's
paraphrase Netanyahu,
Mm.
Gays for Palestine is like chickens for KFC.
Babies for abortion.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
why would you support such a thing if you're the person being targeted?
exactly, exactly. But let's get back to you. I don't want to talk about just negative things. What do
Mm.
you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? Ooh, I'm I'm very big with music. I would consider myself a musician, I guess. I'm a percussionist, and I play and I sing. I've been singing for 8 years now in a choir and outside of choir for fun. I just always sing. Um, and I am a percussionist in our school's bands. So I play bass drum in our marching band. I'm part of the percussion section in our concert band, which is an orchestra without string instruments. And I am the aux percussionist and well, one of the aux percussionists and main male vocalist for our school's jazz band.
Wow.
So I do a lot of that. That takes up, well, we have marching band first semester because that is marching season, where we have a lot of our competitions and we have football games. And then we switch over to concert band and jazz band second semester. That's kind of how our schedule works. We can't really do everything all at once because it'd be
Yeah.
too much, especially for a band teacher. It's just too much work. But I do that takes up a lot of my time. Um, like I said, I'm also part of a choir. It's called. Can I advertise? I guess I could advertise it. Would it
Yes,
be
you
good to
may.
say?
Go ahead.
We're called Musica Children's Choir. They're really talented kids. It's a children's choir that I've been part of for 8 years now.
Where can
Um,
we see you?
you can see us. What are we doing? Well, we always have a show at the end of the semester. Well, we have one in December and we have one in May, or like May, June. Um, we also do a lot of recordings occasionally. You'll hear some of us in like you might hear a little background music in a Hallmark movie, and that might be us,
Oh, wow.
um, and things like that. Um, we've done we did a lot of performances with a lot of celebrities before. We did one with Kanye. We don't talk about that. um, we did one with Camila Cabello.
Wow.
A lot of very famous people.
We have a lot in common, you and I. When I
Hmm.
was little, my father had a jewelry shop in Mexico,
Hmm.
and he catered to the entertainment community. And his most powerful, I guess, clients, he would visit them and he would bring the jewelry to them for them to pick. And sometimes he would take me along. And one of these clients was in charge of one of the biggest recording studios in Mexico.
Wow.
And they knew that I loved to sing. So one day he said, "Can you come over here? Can you sing this?" And I sung it, and he said, "Okay, I'm going to put you in the background." So
Wow.
I sang background for a lot of very famous Mexican performers.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
That's
it
great.
was fun. It was a lot of fun. Of course, when he offered to pay me, my father said, "No, no, no, that's okay, Daddy."
Uh,
But doing it was fun. Yeah,
it's always just no matter whether you get paid or not. I don't get paid for any of the things I do in band or choir. Um, it's just enjoyable.
it's
If you love
enjoyable,
music, then it's good to do that.
and it brings joy to people, and that's
Exactly.
special.
That's things that, especially when it comes to the arts, things that bring joy to people are some of the most important things that you can do.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And music is universal. You don't have
Hmm,
to read music to understand it.
exactly.
So I understand that you're undecided when you go to college between music and something else.
I'm I'm not really I don't I'm kind of thinking about it a little. I still have a couple years left of high school. I have time. I'm thinking of either going into possibly music. I'd love to become like a member of an actual orchestra in the percussion section. I really love being in an orchestra. And maybe I'm thinking of doing something in psychiatry possibly. It seems interesting, and I know a lot of psychiatrists personally, and so do you.
Yes,
um, but the things they talk about
not as a
fascinate me.
patient.
No, not as a patient. No.
By the time you come out of school, I'm gonna need a be your patient.
Uh, By the time I finish my school, I think I might need a psychiatrist.
But maybe you can do a little bit of both. My
Oh, yeah.
cousin is a doctor, and he's also a very talented violinist,
Hmm.
and he records his own music, and he's very talented.
I think a lot of psychiatrists also are very into music, whether they play or just listen. They
Yes,
know a lot about music.
yes. I think you're right. I hadn't thought about it, but now that you mention
But
it,
it's
I
just
think
it's a
you're
bit of
right.
a pattern. Like the
Yeah,
psychiatrists I know, they all are very into music, especially classical usually.
yes. My father was into classical music too.
Hmm.
He played the guitar. He was gifted.
Wow.
One of these days, when your family come to Shabbat dinner, maybe I'll play you a CD that I have of my dad's.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
I would love that.
yeah. So let me. Do you have any pets at home?
I do not have any pets.
Well, they say that having a pet actually lowers your risk of getting Alzheimer's disease. This
Really?
is a new study, by the way. My friend
Um.
Lisa Gibbons was just talking about it recently. And as every week, I have, boy, do I have a dog for you. This is Kruger, and what a character he is. This is his second stint at the East Valley Animal Shelter in Van Nuys, California. The first time was back in January 2024 when he was brought as a stray with a possible owner who didn't reclaim him. He was adopted sometime in July. In mid August, Kruger was brought into the shelter as a stray, again with a possible owner. That possible owner didn't come for him. Now, if you're listening to me, Kruger's former families, shame on you. Shame on you. A pet is for life. When you get a dog, a cat, a bird, a fish, you take that until the very end. You know, you have a lot of things in your world, but to this animal, you are their entire world. Kruger is estimated to be 1 year, 8 months, maybe 2 years. He's 94 pounds, and despite his size, he's a little bit big, but he's fairly easy to handle. Still, he might be best with an active person because he's very young. With older, if they have children, maybe older, who enjoys hiking, cuddling, and time at the beach. Where there's water, Kruger will be happy, even enjoying a hose. Hose, is that how you pronounce it? Wherever Kruger goes, he'll make a splash. He'll make Kruger's next adoption his last. Please share this post, this Kruger, far and wide so that he might find his family. Go to the East Valley Animal Shelter located at 14409 Van Owen Street, Van Nuys, California, 91405. Go visit Kruger, and if Kruger is not the dog for you, I'm sure you will find another pet. But please, save a life, adopt, don't shop. So if you need some help convincing your parents to let you have a pet, I'm your person.
I'm looking at my mother right now.
Yeah. It's for her own benefit, you know?
Yeah.
They lower your blood pressure. Now they say that they even decrease your chances of getting Alzheimer's.
Really?
It's
Wow.
good to have a
That's an
pet.
interesting
It's
study.
very good, very, very good to have a
Hmm.
pet. I assume you like animals.
I do like animals. I've never really had a full an official pet. I had a fish when I was really little, and he died of unknown circumstances, which is probably everybody in the household forgetting to feed him,
Oh,
which was really unfortunate. It's probably my fault. Like I'll be honest. But other than that, I haven't really had any pets. My aunt has a cat that I love,
yeah.
who I see a lot. Other than that, not really. No.
Yeah, Neil and I have 3 dogs, 3 cats, two
Wow,
parrots, and a turtle, and they're all rescued, even the turtle,
wow, that's
even
a
the
lot of
parrots.
pets.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to go to the shelter anymore.
They're like, you've had enough.
Yeah, I just get the texts and the emails, and I go, "Oh, honey, no, can't go there." So tell me more about your studies. That why are you considering psychiatry? What is about psychiatry that calls to you? I know music. Music, I love music, and I understand that. Psychiatry, you have to deal with a lot of crazy people.
Well, I'm not really certain. I've just recently been starting to think about it. And like I said before, I know a lot of psychiatrists, and the things they talk about and the things I read about the mind and psychiatry is just fascinating to me. So I think like it would be a good profession for me. And people are telling me, I just had a friend recently tell me, she goes, Jacob, if you didn't mention politics, if you didn't mention politics in your work, which of course I wouldn't, she goes, you'd be a really great psychiatrist, I think.
I think you would be a very good psychiatrist too.
Thank you.
You're kind, you're observant. I see that you observe very well. And I think you're empathic. And those are really good qualities for a psychiatrist.
Well, thank you. I try to be empathic where I can be.
Yeah, that's important.
Mm.
Although most psychiatrists these days don't really see patients for therapy, mostly
Mm.
they are in charge of prescribing medication. And if you want therapy, then you go to a counselor or a psychologist.
Mm.
But uh, but who knows? Maybe if you wanted, you could still see patients. No,
Hopefully.
nobody says that you shouldn't. I
Mm.
guess it's just people just want to get it over with and make their money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And music is just. Is anybody else in your family musical?
My mother's father, my grandfather, is always very into music. He wasn't a musician much himself, uh, as far as I know. But he loved jazz. Or he loves jazz. Saying loved.
Yeah.
Thank God he's still alive. But um, he really loved jazz, and that was a big influence on me. And jazz is my favorite genre of music. I think it's absolutely amazing. Jazz is a very interesting genre because some people love it, some people are okay with it, and some people absolutely hate it.
I like it.
I really
I
like
like
it.
it.
I
Yeah.
don't get the hate. Um, it's mostly with a lot of young people I know. I have a very close friend who she loves me. We're very good friends, but she hates my music. Every single day I'm singing, I'm humming, I'm playing music when I call her. And she's like, Jacob, 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 I love you. I love you. You're a great friend, but I hate your music.
What
And
kind of music does she like?
she's very Gen Z. She likes rap.
Oh,
She likes all the. I don't get it.
I don't
I
get
don't
it
know.
either. To
It's
me, that's just noise.
it's it is really noise. It's just not from a musician's perspective. It's just not very musical.
No, and the people
It's
who
this
rap, they're just singers who can't sing, so they have to say the
they
words.
they don't yeah they don't really sing much. If they do, it's a very very simple kind of melody, and there's like no there really isn't a melody most of the time. It's just like some beat that they mix up in 2 minutes, and
Right,
that's it.
right. Let's get back a little bit to school.
Mm.
What kind of a craziness is coming out from the LS, what is it?
LAUSD.
LAUSD. Yes, thank you.
Um, I don't know much of what is going on in the district, like what LAUSD itself is doing. I just know what my school personally does and what goes on inside the school with teachers and administration. I honestly don't know much about it. I have friends who know much much more than me about that particular subject. I do know that I had a very I my ethnic studies teacher, which by the way, that's one of the crazy things about LASD, starting with the class of 2027, which is my class. I'm a sophomore. So starting with sophomores and everyone below, from now on, we have to take it's required to take a semester of ethnic studies.
What is that?
Um, honestly, I still don't know. It's it's supposed to be a a a class on different ethnicities and kind of all relevant, at least in the US, to how they came to the US and the goings on and their cultures, which in itself is interesting, of course. It'd be fine to learn about that, but there's already a world history class. There are so many history classes. They'd cover that for the most part. Um, as well as the fact that it's been so distorted from what they say it is.
Yes.
My teacher um, was, first of all, just incredibly anti-Semitic. Just really, it was her first, straight out of college, her first year teaching ever, her first year at my school as well, and I got her, and she's very nice. She's like all these crazy teachers, they're nice. Like they treat you well. If you treat them well, they'll treat you well. But the things she taught and how, like the things she said, I had a conversation. We had some sort of like free time ish one day, and I was talking with a student, and this student is on the baseball team. He's very into baseball. He's talking about how the Middle East and South Asia just made a baseball league. They created a baseball league, and they had like Saudi Arabia as a team, Pakistan as a team, India has a team, um, a couple other countries, and there's a Palestinian national team. And I'm going to this kid. Well, oh, and every on their webpage for each of the teams, they have like a photo of their capital. And I'm curious. It's on his computer. I'm like, go look at the one that says Palestine, and it's a photo of the Dome of the Rock. It's not even any like it's not like a photo of Gaza or like uh, uh, parts of the West Bank controlled um, by the PA. It's just straight up Israel. It's or
Wow.
what you could say is half Israel controlled by Jordan, but it's not anything that you would really consider Palestine legally today.
You know, in the 1934 Olympics, I think it was,
Mhm.
the quote unquote Palestinian soccer team, they were all Jewish. They had the Jewish flag
Yep,
and the Jewish colors, and they were called Palestinians.
because after the Romans took over and invaded Israel, or Judea as it was called, they named it Palestine after the Philistines, which were an ancient tribe that really did not like us.
Right.
And they kind of named the area that to erase the
They wanted to
Jewish
erase
ancestry.
absolutely, they
So,
wanted to erase Judea.
exactly. So since then, I mean, people through that time in history, people called it Palestine, but it was not a there was never an indigenous peoples named Palestinians. Though
No,
that's not it
that's,
was the Jews. It
you're
was the
absolutely correct.
Judeans.
You're absolutely correct.
So I'm explaining that to this kid, and and then I say a little bit too loudly, Palestine is not legally a place. There is no piece of land that is named Palestine. So how do you have a Palestinian national team when you don't have an actual land that call by the name of that country? And my teacher overhears me, and she comes up to me and she goes, "What are you talking about?" And then we get into this whole argument about who's indigenous. This is like the age-old question: who's really indigenous to the land? And I'm arguing with her, and we get to the topic of the Romans come, they rename it Palestina, and they kick the Jews out. And her argument starts going into like, well, if all the Jews were kicked out and there are other people who are there now, that doesn't give the Jews the right to kill everyone and take it back and get expel everyone else. And I said, well, and that's kind of where the conversation ended. But I would have said, like, because she wanted to start the rest of the class and she got mad at me, and I wanted to say, like, well, it's I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
What was I saying?
About your teacher that that just don't have the right to
Oh, right.
come and
So she goes,
reclaim the land.
They don't have a right to reclaim land if they were kicked out. There's new people there, and the Jews didn't have a right to kill everyone and expel the rest of the Palestinians when they created the state." And I go, did they really? There were 73 730,000 Palestinians that left. They were not particularly expelled by the Israeli government. The Israeli government welcomed the Arabs. They said, "Please stay. We're going to welcome you. This may be a Jewish state, but you can live here. You're going to have this is a democracy. You'll have the exact same rights as a Jew, and we encourage you to stay if you don't hate the Jews." And they said, "No, we hate the Jews," as well as the fact that a lot of Palestinian leaders from the surrounding states, Jordan, Egypt, Lebanon, said, "Palestinians, come here. We're gonna destroy the Jews, and you'll come back. You'll come back." And then what happened? We kicked their tuchses.
Yes.
All five of them. There were five giant Arab armies, and we this little country the size of New Jersey with a tiny little army defeated them. It's
Right.
one of the every Israeli war is fascinating to me because it's just always just a complete miracle that they won this little country against these ginormous like powerhouses in the Middle East.
Yep. It is a miracle.
It's
It is a
it really
miracle.
shows you like we're special.
And
The
we
Jewish
have
people are
always
special.
been there. The Jews never left. We've been kicked out a few times, but there have always been Jewish people there,
Exactly.
or
Not
Hebrews, or Israelis, or well, not Israelis, but Hebrews, or whatever else they want to call us.
exactly.
We've always been there.
We've always been there. Not I mean, of course not all of us were necessarily expelled during
Right.
the times of the Romans. Um, a lot of people probably stayed, though most were expelled. Of course, we've always had a connection to the land. No other religion. Well, Islam does this, but not as long as we have. No other religion has prayed for 3,000 years facing a city.
That's correct.
Islam does the same thing with Mecca, but they have done it for a much shorter time than we have. Ever ever since the ever since a Jew ever left Israel, they've been praying. They pray every day towards Jerusalem
That's
for
correct.
3,000 years.
You're absolutely right. Let me invite you to senior prom. I know you're a bit young for senior prom, but here we go. Come dance the night away at senior prom in support of Lisa's Care Connection on September 19th at 7 p.m. I know it's a school night, but maybe your mom will make
Huh.
an exception. Senior prom is where we get to bring all generations together. Whether you're a student senior or a senior citizen, senior prom is your night. Enjoy delicious hors d'oeuvres, drinks, music, and dancing. Tickets start at just $75, and if you can't make it, you can still make a tax deductible donation and send a senior citizen to prom. For more information, call 818-847-3686, 818-847-3686, or visit lisascareconnection.org. Yeah, it would be fun.
That's a great idea to have that like senior prom, except it's
Yeah, and
seniors and senior citizens. That's a
and
really
also
cool
something
idea.
else there that Lisa and her team are doing that's very special. They want to bring Holocaust survivors to this.
Oh wow.
So they're looking for people to sponsor this so they
Mm.
can bring. I gave them a few names. I hope one of them works out.
Wow.
But they're
That's
working on that to bring Holocaust survivors to this fundraiser, to this gala.
it's always fascinating. Like,
Yeah.
it's always fascinating to listen to Holocaust survivors, and I've listened to a couple. That's one thing my school did well. After October 7th, sometime recent, like it was Holocaust Memorial Day a couple months later, and the school, I don't think it was really necessarily in support of Israel, but it was Holocaust. It was sometime around Holocaust Memorial Day or something like that, and they had Zoom meetings every period with a different Holocaust survivor, where they told their story and the students would listen, and it was beautiful. It was optional, so my teacher um, at during that period was who was my biology teacher. He's actually a very fascinating man. His ancestors came on the Mayflower.
Wow.
It's really he talks about how, I won't say his name, his last name, but I'll say, oh, how Mr. Blah blah blah's family destroyed America, because he's not really conservative, or at least I don't think, but like, he goes like, the thing about how when the Pilgrims came, they destroyed America. So that was me, guys. Sorry, it was really funny.
That's funny.
So he's very, from what I know about him, he's pro-Israel, because I've seen him like, I've sat like behind a desk and his desk, and I see him like reading articles about Israel, and he's very pro-Jewish, and although a bit secretively, but he is. And so he showed this Zoom meeting in class, and we listened to the Holocaust survivor, and I saw people like in the class tearing up and really intently listening, and it was beautiful. And I really love listening to Holocaust survivors, because we're the last, our generation, Gen Z, really are the last generation to to have the honor of ever meeting a Holocaust survivor, or knowing or listening to a Holocaust survivor.
We have to keep their story going.
Yes.
You know, there's a very nice uh, series that we saw about a year ago. It's called A Small Light.
Mm.
If you have a chance to see it, I highly recommend it. It's about the woman who helped Anne Frank's family hide.
Wow.
And it's called A Small Light because afterwards she used to lecture and she used to talk about Anne Frank and her family. And at the end of her talks, she would say, "You may think that you can't make a difference, but even a small light can disperse the darkness." So
Wow.
it's a beautifully done, very sad
Mm.
miniseries, but based on this person. And I highly recommend it if you can get a hold of it.
Mm.
I recorded it, but I don't know how I would transfer that to you so, because it's on my little cable machine.
Well, I'm sure it's somewhere.
It's
I will
probably
definitely,
available. Yeah.
I'll definitely look for it. It
Yeah.
sounds fascinating.
I think you would like it. I think you and your
Mm.
family would enjoy that. What's your favorite subject in school?
I love history. I really do. It's well, other than my music class,
Yes, of
of
course.
course. But it's history. I'm taking AP World History this year, and it's at the end of the day. It's my very last class, and I'm always super excited for the whole day, because history is just fascinating to learn about what humans have been doing for all of time.
Yeah.
It's just like we were looking at East Asia and the Song Dynasty and Confucianism, and how these people have made these governments and these social structures, and how does it work, what are the good sides, what are the bad sides. And then we went to the Middle East and the rise of Islam, and is that better than the Song Dynasty in China? Is it about the same? Is Islam better? Is Confucianism better? Let's compare and contrast. um, Now we're in like Southeast Asia, which is it's a very overlooked area of the world, but there's a lot of it was very big for trade, and a lot of things like that, because it was very close to the Indian Ocean, where there was a lot of trade between India and China and the east coast of Africa and southern Africa, and it's just fascinating to learn about these
It is
things.
fascinating. Absolutely. When I was little, I didn't particularly enjoy history until my mother taught me how to study. she sat me down and she said, okay, close your eyes and picture yourself in this particular time period that you're studying. What are people wearing? What does the street looks like? What can you smell? What are people doing? What are they eating? Put yourself, imagine yourself in that place at that time. And that's how you study history.
And when you do, it's a completely different
It's
world.
fascinating.
It's
Absolutely fascinating.
It's amazing just
Yeah.
to see what the human race has been up to.
Absolutely. Well, Jacob, we'll come to the end of the show.
Oh, that's too bad.
I want to thank you for coming to the show. I really enjoy your conversation. You're a very
Oh, I enjoyed
articulate
it too.
young man.
Thank you.
And I hope to have you again sometime soon,
I would love to.
because I would love to continue this conversation.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. This is the first time I've ever been on this sort of thing before, a radio show or podcast. It's a little nerve-wracking, but it's great
Well,
to just have a conversation and people are listening to you.
yes.
I thank you so much for
Thank you for
letting me
coming. And thank you
do
to your
this.
parents, because I know
Oh,
this
yes,
was
of
your
course.
decision, but not without your parents' blessing. So
Mm,
thank you to your parents
yes, thank
for
you, Mom and
letting
Dad.
you come. And thank you for saying yes to coming. And hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Yes.
Thank you all for tuning in. Until next time, I am Edie J. Adler.
You're listening to The Edie J. Adler Show, only on LA Talk Radio.